And we also try to understand what are the various trainings which are involved in the non-functional testing. So functional and non-functional testing, both the part we completed in I would say our previous session. Next, we also discussed about like what and how we are using the positive as well as the negative testing. So that and the utility of it. So that is something we also understood. So more discussion about was there, which was involved in terms of the types of testing, including the unit testing, then integration testing, then complete system as a whole, I would say system testing, with the change part that was having, I would say, regression testing, and I would say acceptance testing based on, I would say, how is user going to respond, and alpha testing and beta testing as well. So this we learned in previous session, and we started the concept like how to write a test cases. We understood the test cases, we understood what are the various fields which are involved in the test cases, and we also understood like why we are writing test cases. Fine. So that is something we learned as well. And we started the Gmail, and we worked on the Gmail part, and after working on the Gmail, we created and executed a complete test script, and that test script gave us ultimately the execution part gave us the result as the status of this test case coming as pass or a fail one. Correct? Okay. Fine. So in this session, let's quickly discuss like one of these points. You can, if you have written your test cases your own, these are the very basic and I would say good points which we should keep in order to write a good test case. And that is like test case should be accurate and tests what is intended to be test. Fine. So for example, if we discuss like and how to write a good test case. When somebody is writing manual test case, a big question is how to write good test cases. And these are the basic steps, and these are the important actually the points what we have gathered. And that is like first one is test cases should be accurate and tests what is intended to be tested. It means we should always write the test cases more accurate, not with lots of stories or theories, something like that, but more towards like accurate point to point, the stuff what needs to be performed. So that is the biggest point. Second is no unnecessary steps should be in the test case. So all these steps which are essential, which are actually required to perform the specific activity or task, we should only provide that under the the phase of like this stepwise. Third is like test cases should be reusable, so you can use test case to test different applications. Let me take an example and then explain this. For example, we have the I would say the e-commerce website. Fine. And we are having one test case for a module that is registration module, or let's say leave registration keep login module. So there is one login module is there, and then there is a searching an item as module. Third one we are having as the adding to the cart, and fourth we are having as a payment module. For an example, if we are going for I would say searching to the item, or if we are going to test a module which is more towards as an integration, and that's like I have to test a feature of from an item which I can search and I can put in the cart. So that is require the I would say test case itself of the login module, fine, or the login feature or that particular unit. So if I have tested a login unit already with a different test case, and now it is integrated one, and it should not be the case like I'm writing again. Let's start since the beginning, like this is how you have to test the login. Second, I'm writing like this is how you have to test the at the cart. Third is like you have to test the this I would say searching one. So more towards it should be like more reusable, so that we can use with the different applications as well, with that I would say different kind of modules as well, with different at the time of different testings. So that is the major I would say practice we should follow in order to write a good test case. Test case should be traceable to the test requirements. Yes, that is very, very important. Whatever test cases we are writing, it should be traceable, so that ultimately these are matching with the test requirements, what requirements we are having. Test case should be independent, yes, and there is no dependence in your test case, and you should be able to execute test case in any order without dependency or any other test. So it is more towards like unit testing, the concept wise. So your test case you are writing, those should be in such a way like if you want to test any, if you want to perform any testing of any specific functionality or a unit, it should be more independent. It should be, I would say, no further dependency on any different kind of test case. And there are some test cases which are like connected test case, like if we're going to run this test case, a test case 2 will be executed automatically. So that's a different story. But individually, if I want to test a second test case, it should also be able, we should also be able to test the test case independently. And one more is like test case should be easy, clear, and small. Be more accurate. Be more, I would say, to the point stuff. Be more don't keep any kind of story. Don't keep any kind of lots of writing part. Try to be more accurate. Try to be more small, short, concise, and anyway. And a test case should be like which ensures all the positive as well as the negative scenario cover in test case. So along with the positive, you should also cover the negative scenarios in test case. So that is something you should focus. These are the I would say suggestions. These are the recommendations you is for you. Like when you're writing the test cases, these are the points you should remember and you should follow. Okay. Now, these are some generic test cases. I would say the guidelines, you can go through it after the class. And this is another document which give you a kind of case study, and then live test cases with the black box and the concept wise how we have written. So you can go through with this document as well. I'm going to the case of Gmail test case. Okay. So it is the Gmail login, I would say, the test case, and these are the various scenarios. Now, I'm just going to give you an idea of what you have to complete. It's going to be a complete week during before the next class. So this is what you can do is like, first of all, one you have created as a Gmail login successful, and login with like valid username and valid password. Fine. And these are, if you see, almost very quite less as in terms of steps which are written here. But this is one scenario or the one test case we are having. Now what you will do is you will test some more different scenarios, or we can call it there's various other possibilities by which we can test the Gmail login functionality. One is going to be like the Gmail login unsuccessful, fine, with invalid username and valid password. So this is now is going to be interesting. Let me tell you how. I have given to you. Please note it down. Like Gmail login unsuccessful with logging with invalid username and valid password. So if I'm providing an invalid username and if I'm providing a valid password, ultimately my Gmail login should be. I would say I should not be able to log in into the system. That is why I have written a test case as Gmail login unsuccessful. So here, what would be the difference? Like you will be writing the detailed steps and expected result you will be writing. Like user should not be able to log in, and it should show an error, and then error is like the email or the password you enter is incorrect. Fine. So when this is the expected result, and if you get exactly the same result, it means when you're not able to log into the system, then it will be considered as a pass status for the test case. And in case if you're able to log in even without even with using this invalid username and valid password, it will be a failed test case. Why? Because you have actually written with this expected result, like my expected result was like I should not be able to log in. And if you're not able to log in, then it is a pass as a successful as a test case. And if you're able to log in, that means that's a fail a test case. Does it make sense? Then second scenario is like Gmail login unsuccessful, and with what we are logging, that is like valid username and invalid password. So this is another scenario. Think another scenario, and that scenario is scenario number, I would say 4. No, 3. And that is like it would be 4 because one we already tested. Gmail login unsuccessful. Login with empty username and empty password. You're trying to log in without user ID and password. Then you see at what step you are reaching, at what step you able to reach, and what step you able to actually execute. Gmail login unsuccessful with empty username and valid password. It won't be happen because the point is the Gmail little bit has changed the. This is an old document, I would say. Gmail has changed the. I would say logging the signing in the functionality. So first you have to provide an username. Something you have to provide, but the empty name you cannot reach to password. So this is we are not keeping in the list right now. This is something we can keep, which is like fifth one, I should say. The Gmail login unsuccessful with valid password, with valid username and empty password. So with valid username you're keeping, and then password you're keeping the empty. This is a live and a different scenario. Like login is unsuccessful due to the login, I would say valid username, but invalid password that you have entered almost 6 times. So how and what message it should display as a Google? This is something you are having as a 6th assignment. So this is another case when you're trying to access the help link. So you're trying to see if this help link is available or not. So clicking on the need the help link, and then you see the expected result, you're able to reach there or not. This is Gmail login, stay signed in, link enabled. Uh, you remember you have one option as like stay signed in, or there is nowadays name is as remember me, something like that when you're trying to log in. So that's a kind of checkbox. That's a kind of, I would say, one unit we are testing, like that checkbox, that particular part that is enabled so that we can use that checkbox. So this is another you're having as a case. These are the various scenarios. If you see under the phase of the Gmail login, if you see some more test cases are used here, and this is these are what test cases, what I would say the various possibilities, what one of the candidate thought of and decided these much test cases, like I should test this, I should test this particular stuff, I should test another functionality as this one, and so on. Fine. So this is the same scenario. I'm giving you few more directions, and I'm not giving you exactly the test cases. I just want that you try to have those test cases. You try to use your brain, and then you come up with some kind of new test cases. One is like a login you already having. You can go with the logout scenario of the Gmail with the, I would say, the manual test case, this stuff itself. So Gmail logout is something what you should go. So what will be the preconditions? What will be the requirements? You should be it should be fulfilled, and what you going to perform. So you go with that logout scenario. So one you're having option as logout functionality test of Gmail. Another you should go with like Gmail sign up functionality test. Fine. So this is, if you see Gmail login with different scenarios, 8 to 10 scenarios we are done. Then we are trying to test two more functionalities as I would say Gmail logout functionality test for and with the manual testing part. Another one we are keeping like Gmail sign up functionality. It means registration, trying to create a new access, new login to the Gmail as a functionality. That is something we are having. So these are the various possible scenarios, and you can go with the logout. You should go with like any kind of credential wise. You can check and go with some more scenarios like this is how you're trying to log out, or this is how you're trying to sign up, and these are the issues you're facing. In the sign up button, I would say in the sign up form, you will be getting lots of fields you have to fill. Let it be the captcha, or let it or be the different other I would say field. So that you keep into the consideration, like how we are testing the Gmail sign up or the registration functionality, how we are testing the Gmail logout functionality. Any questions in this, or any direction you require in these various possible scenarios? Priyanka, Ghazal, you guys there? That is like you are entering in password. For example, if yeah, invalid password is there. So your task is, or your objective is that I'll enter invalid password almost 6 times, and then you have to design a test case with the live scenarios, how and what will be the expected result, and when at the execution time, when somebody is going to execute your test case, is it going to match with the I would say the expected result, the actual one. So more towards like username is valid, and the password is invalid, and you're trying to enter the password, invalid password, almost 6 times, and then you see what happens with the same user ID itself. Okay, anything else? Ghazal, your system is working, or you're using like the mobile or something? I can see Galaxy J3 emerge. You able to get your machine work? Oh, okay. Okay, no issues. That's fine. So I hope you got the assignments. And last, I can do one more thing, that I can keep this for you. So I will send this specifically a list to you guys, which can be like assignment list to you, so you guys can get updated. Fine. So there is one more, I would say, concept, and that is more towards like what is the test data and what is test data, and apart from that, why it is important. Fine. So in very simple words, test data is the documented data that is basically used to test the software program. And we can divide the test data into two categories. One is called as positive test data, which generally gives the information which is expected, I mean, which is required. I given you an example of that age factor. And negative test data, that is used to test the unhandled conditions or unexpected or exceptional kind of input conditions, and then see how the system responds. So if you remember, one age was a factor and I was showing, and then we are entering the numbers, that's positive data. If you enter a number as ABCD or any name, a character set of characters or a string or something, so then it is like an negative data we are trying to use and test the stuff. So ultimately, test data we use for testing the application with different under different input, I would say, the with various input data we're going to provide, and then we're trying to test like how the system is responding, how the output is coming, and that is how we go with both kind of positive as well as negative test data. Test data normally we document on the Excel sheet, we documented the Word document, we document it on the text files. You go with more, I would say, bigger data when you want more automatic stuff. So we try to store data on the databases as well. We try to use the data on the XML as well. So that is one more way we try to keep the, I would say, complete test data of what we're going to use for the testing. And normally the test data are designed, those are also designed with I would say a lot of uh, thinking, like what kind of data we should use in the I would say positive testing, what kind of data we should use in the negative testing. And these are the importance of the test data, like guidelines we can write a good test complete application as well as the data stuff. So you should go through this document. I'm going to a project part that is more towards the FRS here. What does FRS mean, guys? Any clue? Okay, let me tell you. FRS means flight reservation system. So we do have one live project. One desktop application is also available whenever we try to test it with the more desktop-based version of testing, more towards QTP or something. So then we use the desktop application, and this is more we are using the web version of the FRS, and that is what we'll be testing here in terms of the flight resolution system. Let me open the FRS 1 second. If I remember the URL, it was yes. So this is the URL for the FRS. It's a travel project, and it's a live project, if you can see. newtours.demot and demot.com, you can pronounce like this. And when you go and open this, I would say the project, which is a live project itself, you find this as a complete solution which is available here. And I'm going to show and I'm going to give you idea. I'm not going to write the test cases. I'm going to explain you the project. I'm going to give you what you need to test. Testing you have to perform, right? Test cases you have to write down, and test cases you have to design, you have to execute, and you have to come up with the part of like what we have done in terms of execution part. Okay, so are we ready? Should I explain you the project, how it is going to work? Okay, so I have given you the URL. I'll give you at the email as well. So this is a kind of, if you see, this is complete a traveling kind of project, and this project, with the help of this, we can book flights, we can search flights, we can go for the payment part, and then we can see what are with our specialized, or we can say not specialized, with personalized access, what are the various options, what are the various flights we already booked, what are the status of our flight, and if I want to delete any flight, I can go and any bookings of mine. If I want to add on and book another flight for a different date, that I can do. If I want to add on some basic details in terms of the candidate or passenger, that is allowed here. So these are the important stuff we are having, and that is how we're going to see how does it work. Okay, so let me explain what this project is working. So you see here, one is called as sign on. So it means the username and password, something what you are going to get. If you're not sign in, I mean you're not having registration, you go on the register button and provide these details as first name, last name, contact number, mail ID, address ID, and these are the important, the most essential traveling, I would say, these fields. So this is what this is again, as I'm telling to you, like this is more towards a traveling project. So that's what we are trying to test. We are going to write the test cases. I'm explaining one of the module, and that one module is registration module. So how you have to go with the registration part, that is more towards like click on the register button, provide basic details, select a username which should not be a registered name, then provide a password, confirm password, and click on submit button. So once you're done with this, then you can come up here on the sign in button, sign on button, then you can sign in. As I remember, I was having login like this. I'm not sure. Yes. So I logged in. I signed in with my registered username and password here. So if you see, one module is like the registration module, what you can test. Second module you're having, that is the login module or sign-in module. And this third, if you see functionality wise, I'm just showing you, like this is flight finder. So this flight finder is something by which we can find the flights. We can look like what are the various flights from one place to another, which we can use. So this is one option. There are various fields involved. If you see here, like number of passengers we are having, is it a round trip or a one-way journey? Second is like from where I'm looking for my flights departing from, which particular date we are looking, and another is like arriving, where I'm actually heading, where I'm reaching, and one more is towards, that is returning if it's a round trip. So that is one more information available. And if you go with the preference wise, I can select the preference: economy, business, first class, airlines, I have the preference like where I can go, I mean which airline I want to choose, and then I can click on continue. So this is the basic form, which is the starting. So for an example, I'm keeping I'm flying with let's say go with the round trip only. This is not available. I'll be flying from New York here. This is a pre-decided, I would say, data which is available. Okay, let me, and I'll be going to San Francisco. Yes, to explain you, Ghazal, this is a project. This is, I would say, traveling project, a travel project. Stuff is available. Like if you see, all the test cases are already available here. Guys have already created. If you go to the, let's say, solution-wise assignments and the list stuff, you're already having videos available for this. But more, I'm looking that you guys create your own. So that's what I am explaining. What are the various functionalities, what are the various units we are having at this project, so that you can understand, and based on that you try to create, open an Excel, try to create one test case, and that test case is like trying to log in with the successful login successful with username and password, then fail to log in with the system while using the same, providing invalid username and password. So 3 to 4 scenarios of login. Then you go with the registration as a different module. Then you go with another module, which is I'm showing you, that is like booking a flight. That's another unit we are having. So this is what I'm sharing. This is what I'm showing to you. I'm actually executing, and I'm actually using the system so that I can, so that you can understand what you have here in the system. Based on that, you are going to create an Excel itself, the test cases. You're going to run it. This is something you need not to submit by tomorrow or something, but this is like you have a complete week, and before coming to the next session, I would say the next week, before that you are working on all these, you are trying to connect, you are trying to take help from the documents, you're trying to take help from the portal itself if you're not able to do, and then you're submitting it on the assignment section. So this is what I'm explaining right now, and this is what I'm expecting, like giving you more towards the assignment part. Is it clear? Yes, yes. It is called as this is called as the steps you're going to follow. So if you are testing a functionality, that is the booking a flight functionality unit, so what you're going to write down, that you will be having an option, you will be selecting from this or this, and what will be the test case. So this is little bit more bigger picture. Fine. So what you're going to write down, like need to book a flight, I mean a flight, successful booking of a round trip, 2 passengers flying from this location to any specific location with this particular class, that you have to write down as a test case. Then you are providing all the information, and then clicking the continue button, and then see what you're able to actually book a flight or not. So don't worry, I mean this is having good fields, and the point is you spend some time on this project, you will be more familiar, and that is what real kind of projects are there. And this is one of the live project you can see we are working in. So that is why try to sync with it, and that's what I am explaining. Even if you're not able to do initially, I will help, and I will try to do, or I can record some other videos offline and share it with you, so it does that help you, like what we have to work, how it is performing. And you remember this project, the same project we are working, like the Gmail, I given you 3 to 4 different I would say test objectives. I given you various scenarios under test objectives. That is one of the project we will also be testing with the help of I would say the in the field of automation testing. So this Gmail project will be testing as the with the help of Java and Selenium. We will be also testing this as a project like flight reservation, QTP. If it's we include in the session, we'll test all these in the with the concept of QTP itself. So that is what the real project manually we are trying to understand, and then we're going to go with the part of. Yeah, and that's I showed you the registration. You remember? I showed you the registration, provide the basic details and all, and it will give you registration. So that is not an issue. So it will be kind of testing as well with a live scenario. You are registering. I would say you're trying to register basically with your username and password. Let me explain this project further to you, and then I will show you like what are the areas where you can find out the bugs. So the defect is the more important part here, because ultimately you have to come up with the defect part. Fine. So these are the defects you have actually come up by, and then the solution, this is a defect, like this is a defect. So that defect part will be coming, and that I want to show you like what are the ways you should track, you should try to get the defect, and how you're going to actually get the defect. So that is why for this live projects more towards an understanding of coming up with the more live scenarios as well as the defect management that is going to come after working on this project. Okay, so this is what you're going to provide as an information, and like okay, arriving fine, and this is the airlines I wanna choose, and then I'm going to click on continue button. When I click on the continue button, so this is what I'm having in as an option, and that is like this is a flight what I selected, Blue Skies Airlines, and this is the departure time. Okay, and I'll be back by a different, and then I click on continue. Now you're having a complete form that is for the registration. I would say that is for the payment. So this is a total price I have to pay for this, the flights, and then I can give it like the passenger name I am keeping. Let's say Rahul, last name as S. So this is a kind of I can go with, let's say this is a meal I'm selecting. Card type I'm selecting. So I'm providing all the basic, I would say, details here. I'm filling up the like essential fields I have filled, and then I'm going to go and click on the secure purchase. And with the basic, all the details, I'm having like the flights which are booked, one from we're going like near New York to San Francisco, and then returning, and that is also done. So if you see one of the flight which is booked here, so this is one of the I would say functionality is a bigger functionality you can see here. Just giving you I was just giving you a small idea, a little bit idea how you're going to find out the defects and all. So just giving you a direction. I'm not exactly giving you what and how you're tracking the defect. And the direction is like if you see. If I go back to flights, I'm clicking on round trip, fine. selecting any location, fine, and starting from London, and then back to LA. No, LA is not here. So let's say New York. So if you see one bug, what I found out in the same system, that is, even if I selected the button as one of the button that was one-way trip, I was not looking for a round trip. It is giving me again a kind of a round trip. Like this is from London to New York, and this is returning from New York to London. So one bug which you're going to report, I given you one direction, fine. So this is something you're going to write down a test case, and for the for booking a round trip, or for booking a one way, I would say flight, and then you are confirming like even with the one way you're getting with returning flight as well. See, both the flights you're going to book here. So this is one of the bug, one of the defect in the system, what I have explained to you, like this is a defect in the system. Did you got the idea while I was explaining the defect? Okay, and if you see, and you go with various negative tests on this particular module, and you will find lots of defects, fine. So the major challenge and major assignment what I am giving to you, and that is the assignment, like this web base we are having as a project wise. This is the project URL. I'm looking like you test these modules, these units. One is like when you try to understand, this will also give you better, I would say, relativity, better connection with the concepts we were learning. One feature, one module, and that is module is like registration module. Another is like sign-on module. So now what you can do is you can check various possible with the help of let's say, let me log out from here, sign off. So I'm sign off and register. If you see these basic details and all which is requiring, so username and password, so that you can go like these are the three fields which are the essential fields. So you're selecting one username, then you're selecting one password, and then you're selecting then you're typing the confirm password. So you can keep the cases like a successful registration with new username and a kind of valid password, and confirm a valid confirm password. Another you can keep like unsuccessful registration with correct username, one I would say password, and a different confirm password, second scenario. So this is unsuccessful. So even if this case, if you able to log in, and that will be a complete, a kind of defect which you have to report. So this is second one. Third you talk about, that is like one more case you can write down, one username with which you have already registered. So for example, I have registered with Rahul123, and then I'm trying to register with the same username with a different password. So authentication will be an issue here, will be the defect. So registration with the existing registered user ID, and then you're trying to see what it is giving to you as a message. So that should be unsuccessful, because once one guy is registered with one username should be unique, fine. So that is third case which you can think and go with the scenario wise in terms of the registration module. Getting the idea? Now I'm going to go with the sign on. So this is, I was trying the sign on with the non-registered, or I would say a new username and new password. So this is a second scenario when I'm trying to test sign in. So this is not giving me taking to me anyway. It means that is true that I'm not able to log in anywhere. Fine, but there should be again a kind of defect which you're going to drive, which you're going to write down, like provide any kind of message like this is not registered. Yes, yes, yes. With the positive data as well as the negative data. So testers test with all the possible scenarios. They think like, what can an end user think? An end user think like, I am already registered, or it is something I have forgot my password, and then what I have to go with this. So that kind of all positive scenarios as well as the negative scenarios. If a guy who was writing, I don't know what, let's say different kind of stuff. Let me go with this registration part. Yes, you do have to register on this Ghazal for getting user ID and password. That is more towards a kind of you remember you use any kind of such projects in which you are registering, you are having a user ID and password, then you're trying to log in, and that is what you're trying to book a flight and one on that. I'm trying to submit. It seems not submitting. Okay, so this is a defect which I am sharing to you. I was having already a registered username as Rahul 123, and the password I was using is a Rahul 123. But I tried using the existing user ID and I provided a different password. So even with the combination of different password, I provided Rahul 111, and again I was able to register, and it is giving me a message like, thank you for registering. You may now sign in using the username and password you have just entered. So that is one scenario, one case I'm giving to you. So it's like, let me sign in. So now my password, I don't know why it is changed even without any confirmation, like you're already registered user. Oh, it gave me a message as a registration is done, but even though I'm not able to get the login. Yeah, and I'm using the previous password, which is existing one, and I'm able to log in. These are the various defects what you need to find out actually, and that is what I would say. Lots of various testers and guys who use this project, and this is very interesting as well as very handy tool, and the solution by which we're going to test various stuff. So I'm going to give you the assignment, and then assignment is that is you have to find out and that is like find out 10 defects in this FRS system. So you need to report the defects. Fine. Let me quickly give you the idea what is the defect and how you're going to report the defect, and how you're going to how are you going to find the defect, how are you going to report it. So defects are like any kind of faults, errors, incidents, kind of failures. We can say inconsistency, or a feature which is the working, which is not working the way it's supposed to work. Any kind of such undesirable or unwanted behavior what system does, we consider it as a kind of defect, and more technical words we call it as a kind of bug. Fine. So software does not do something that the product specification says it should do. Fine. The software does something that the product specification says it should not do. The point is, software actually is designed just to make sure like what the specification we require, it is performing the same part, it is matching with the specification part. So that is what the software does, something that the product specification does not mention. So there are 4 kind of defects. You can go through this document as well. I'm giving you explanation quickly what and how we are doing. Defects 4 C's, like clear, consistent, correct, complete. So if these are the we can say, if something which is not clear, not consistent, not correct, or not complete, it will be coming it as a defect to the system. Okay. Now these are the various reasons which causes defects. Fine. And these are the defects classification. Defects are classified as a major defect, minor defect, potential defect, and Q, which to be sorted during the 3rd hour offline, which is needs to be in the report we find out. Major we have nowadays come up with more in the agile model as the concept of defect priority, and that is like defect is having medium priority, high priority, low priority, or critical. Critical means due to this we're not able to actually perform any specific part which is linked to it, and that is what we consider as a critical part to it, more towards like it's very critical and which needs to be resolved ASAP. Fine. So let us understand quickly what is a defect. So defect is an error or a bug in the application which is created. An example, defect may be broken link, any kind of error in the function. A developer or a programmer who's designing the application, it happens like some mistakes or errors is there. And if it is there in the application, and it means functionality which it should perform that is not performing, so that we consider as a defect, and that is what needs to be reported and to the development team. Different, I would say, organization keep like, some guys call it as issue, and some companies will find these are the 7 issues which raised by the testing team in this particular I would say the FRS. Some guys call it as incidents, some companies call it as a bug, some guys call it as defect, some guys call it as problems. So these are the different names. You go to different companies, you will find any kind of such kind of names, any of it in that company, which is ever popular there. So when the software tester examine the expected result and actual result, so how the defect is actually gathered. So when Ghazal, we are talking about defect. What is defect? How we try to find out the defects, and then we'll understand how to report the defects. Fine. So whenever the expected result, you remember at your manual test case test field, whenever the expected result is not matching with the actual result, and when it is coming to as the case of a failed test case, so that is the case where and I would say previous sessions you were talking. So if the expected result deviate from actual result, then the result into a defect, and these defects occur because of the error in the logic or encoding, which result into a failure result. And when a tester finds a bug or defect, it's required to convey the same to the developers. You remember I was talking about, you're just trying to test this test case is passing or failing. So if it's failing, that's a defect, and then defect you're trying to report to the developer team. So thus they report bugs with the detailed steps, and those are called as bug report. So whatever the detailed steps and the report we're going to give to the developers, that will be called as a bug report. Fine. Or we can call it as the issue report, or the detailed problem report. So these are the names we're going to submit, we're going to give to the development guys. So there is a defect life cycle. Fine. This is a defect life cycle. I can explain this. And this is more towards like, once this is more logical, and this will give you more as understanding how the defect life cycle means when the defect is occur, then we are trying to understand how this defect is going to float in the system, how this the life cycle is going to be. And this is what you can read out quickly. I'm explaining, and then you can understand. When a tester finds a defect, it open a status, a new defect, and that is called as a new. So that's a new defect, which is I have tracked, I have analyzed, and I'm considering the status as new. Then defect analyzed by development project manager, and development project manager try to analyze a defect. Fine. Third phase is, and if it is a valid defect, and is it a valid defect? If it is no, then the development team, I would say the lead, the development manager, it will that guy will keep it under the status as rejected. So this the defect what you have actually gathered, that is not actually a defect, not a valid defect, so it is rejected. If it is accepted, if it is a valid defect, then it will be in the phase of like a scope. A scope means, are we able to actually, is there any scope to resolve this defect, resolve this bug? If there is no, then it will be the status we're going to keep as a deferred as a status, and to this particular I would say the section. So if you see, this is an example. Like suppose you find a problem with the email functionality of QA training portal, let's say www.training.qlandtraining.com, but it is not part of the current release, so such defects are deferred. It's kind of we are kept them the postponed one. So this is not important to this particular release, and which can be this is not something which we have committed or the client is looking for, even though that defect is detected. So if it is not important, we can postpone it for the next release and keep on the same status. If there is any scope, and then we're trying to test, is it is already raised, is this the defect which already raised by someone? If yes, then we'll keep the status as a duplicate. So that's a duplicate issue we are having the system. If not, then it will go to the development guy. Ultimately, it will pass it on the development guy like this, and development guy will what it is gonna do. The developer starts fixing the code. So from this new and status, from this new status, or the we can say to do status, it goes to the phase of it. If it is a valid defect, if it is a scope to resolve this, and it is not raised already, then it will pass it on to the developer, and developer keep the status as in progress. In progress means yes, this issue we are working, I'm trying to resolve the issue, and that is the status. You can see like the developer is working, and it is in the in progress as terms of the status. Now once the code is fixed and you come up with the status, and the developer gave it as a status that is a fixed, it means this issue is fixed from my side. Fine. And then that code or that stuff is again passed it on to the tester to retest the code, to retest the bug, to retest the, I would say, functionality. And if the functionality at the test case is passed, if we able to pass the test case, then the tester is keeping it under the status of closed, means yes, it is done. So in Jira, these three are the important aspects which I can show you right now. A status which is like new, in progress, and closed means done. Yeah, we are done with this test case. If not, and it is not able to pass the test case, it means it will keep the status, and the tester will keep the status as reopen. Your issue is not resolved, and that is why reopening the issue, and again it will come back to the development, the manager. Okay, let me explain it quickly one more time. So more towards like the defect, we have found expected deviating with the actual. So the tester found out the defect. It open an issue, open a defect, open a problem, and the status has given as a new. Then it is going to come to the development manager, I would say the project manager development, and he's going to see like, is this a valid defect? If yes, is there any scope at this particular release? Yes. And then it is going to keep like, is it already raised? No. Then let's pass it on to the developer has changed the status as in progress. In progress means this is information. The tester as well as everybody else, immediately this project management guy is getting the information like, yes, this is in progress, the work is going on to fixing the bug, fixing the error, fixing the issue. And that is what like code, when it is fixed, then it is status has changed from the development team. So that development team changed the status as fixed status, and then they pass it on to again to the testers. And then again tester guy is testing the same code, retest it. If it is issue is resolved, it is going to, he or she is going to keep under the phase of like the issue is resolved, so it is means closed. And if it is not, if doesn't pass one more time the test case, so then we'll be considering like, oh, this is have to reopen the issue, and this reopening will go to again where this status will be reopen, and again the cycle back from here, development guy and going to go. Okay, this is called as a complete defect life cycle. You may face interview questions regarding what do you understand by a defect? Can you explain the defect life cycle of a bug or of an error of a defect? Does it make sense, guys? And this is, I would say, there is one document that is called as defect report, which you're already having. And this is the complete FRS, flight reservation application defect report. So you see, these are almost 10, 12 defects which we found. And these are like, just like the, I would say, test case, the way you write, that is how you're writing the test case, and writing the defect report. And defect IDs, that is defect description. On the flight finder page, if you choose one way, the system shows return flight as well, return fares as well. So this is a defect you have found out. And then you're writing like, this is a tester name, this is a developer name to it is going, this is the release date, this is to be resolved by this particular date, and again resolved on which date, that is there. This is priority. This is priority I was explaining. Priority means this issue is, what is the priority? So priority wise, there are normally 5 fields are there in the company. Normally 5 fields they use, normally sometimes 3, 4, 5, it is more towards, and that is what the company decides. So one is normally like the low as a priority. It means there is a bug, but there is right now not a very high priority to resolve. It's low priority. Then is another called as a medium priority. So we have found out the bug, and medium priority wise, we want that getting free from the other issues, you can go with that, resolving this issue. Next is called as high priority. High priority means the priority of resolving this issue is high. You need to resolve this issue soon. There is sometimes in companies that is called as very high priority. Fine. And that is like, it's on very high priority. Please, I would say, resolve this bug ASAP kind of stuff. So that is high priority. One more, sometimes in company that keep like critical as a priority. Critical means due to this, we're not able to, we are stuck. We're not able to move on. So that is what it is critical. So that is something which leave everything and resolve this part. It is critical, and due to this we are not able to move further. So that is critical as a priority. So this is a section which we have a column which we have written as a priority. Then steps to reproduce, ultimately how you can reproduce. If a developer wants to see how the defect is coming, what operations these guys are performing. So these are the steps. So if you see, these are actually the steps of the test case, and this is the expected output of the test case, and this is the actual output of the test case, and this is the status we have given, and this is a defect screenshot. Because it happened a lot, like tester is saying like this is a defect, developer is saying hey this is working on my machine. Fine. So you are more towards like giving and providing the snapshots as well, like these are the steps we perform, this was the expected outcome, and this was the actual outcome, and this is the defect we are facing. So that is what, and that is how the defects are actually created and reported. And ultimately, being a tester, what at the end of the day is you are trying to gather, you are trying to come up. Okay, test case is for you internally. Test case is you writing and you, I would say, executing. Defect is like, other than the test case, few more additional the columns which are included here. So rather test case ID, it is more towards the defect ID. Fine. The criticality, the issue of the criticality of the issue, the priority that you have mentioned, that is additional. These are the almost same fields like status and I would say steps, or the expected result and actual result. And then you have also in the first column itself, rather than the test case objective. Yes, because you see, a defect is always opened by a tester only. You remember, you see that defect cycle. You got a defect. Why? How you got a defect? You created a test case. You run a test case. Your actual result deviated from an expected result. You found out a bug, and that is what you are giving as a bug. Yeah, that is what you're giving as a description. So rather the test case description, you are now giving as a defect description. Like this is something, even if on the flight finder page, flight booking page, if user uses one way as a flight, even though the system is sharing like the fare for the return flight as well. Then the tester and the tester name, these who reported this bug, then to whom it is directed. Sometimes this is something not what testers decide. We don't know who is working on this, but whosoever come up with the module. For example, I got a module and this is the developer who has developed it, so I will try to report to the same. And raised on, so this is a date we have raised on, and this is we are expecting to be resolved by, and this is the date we are having. And actually on which date it is resolved, so that is a date which is opened here, that is blank, that is going to be filled after the complete status, when a retest is done and we are confirmed like this is the date we are resolved this issue. The criticality, I would say the priority, high, low priority. See, the critical priority is here, high priority is there, and so on. And then you're writing down like these are the steps I followed, this is the expected outcome, and this was the I would say the actual outcome. And ultimately these are the proofs, these are the documents which are supporting like how the defect is looking and what I'm facing here. So that is a complete defect report. So defect report is little bit, we can say, more comprehensive, more explanatory kind of report. Why? Because it has involved your testing work, and it has also involved the defect, like this is the defect I found. Now how to resolve it, developer has the responsibility. Change the code, fix the bug, get back to me, give it to me for the retest. I will retest it, I will find out what is the bug. If it is closed, if it is resolved, I will keep the status closed. So ultimately, if you see, defect opening, defect closing, that is all done by the tester only. Fine. So if you go to defect life cycle, if you try to relate it again, you see here this defect opening, fine. New status defect giving, and this is status which is like resolving. That is both is done by the tester. So tester is opening an issue and tester is closing after the retest. Fixing, in progress, fixed. It means in progress and fixed, that is done by the developer's side. Like, okay, we are and we are under progress, we are working on this, and now it is fixed from my side. So if it is fixed, again it is coming to the tester, and tester is trying to retest it, and then coming like it is fixed actually or not. If it is not fixed, it will the tester will reopen it. So like the issue is reopened, and this is not resolved yet, so developer has to do again. And if it is fixed, then the status will be kind of closed. So FRS, the flight reservation, one, and I was say one project which is here, that is more towards having the defect report. Various 10-15 bugs defects are reported here, and this is the defect report in terms of a complete project. If you see, it's a kind of template you can download and you can use what you keep under the defect as a report or a bigger one. And this is one of the sample of how we are doing. You see here defect ID, this one, and the defect description. You see here multiple registrations for a single user at registration page at this particular. So Rahul having almost 10 user IDs, and that is what a defect, multiple registration of a single person. Tester, name of the tester, the person who is testing. Developer, the name from the development team. Released, raised on, so this is the date when it is raised on. This is resolved, to be resolved by, so this is a tentative date or deadline we are opening, like that is more opened by the testing lead or something, or the tester sometimes. So like this is the time we need to resolve this issue, and actually on which date it is resolved, and this is filled almost after a lot after when the issue is fixed. Severity or priority, critical, high, medium, low. Status, to reproduce, like how you can reproduce this, how you can what are the steps. So these are actually the test cases steps what we wrote in the time of test case writing. Then the I would say, yes, this expected outcome, and expected outcome we are providing, like this is the expected outcome which is I was expecting, and this was the actual output. And that is why status wise it is an open or close. So that is why it is an open. I have opened this issue, and these are the supporting links, screenshots which are supporting my defect. So defect ID, yes, we are providing the defect ID. This is a defect ID we have provided, and that is how we grow, that is how we do. So we understood what are defects. We understood how to report the defects. We understand how to create the test cases. We understand how to get the defect. We understood defect reporting, defect lifecycle, the example. And if you see all this, these are working on the Microsoft Excel itself. So Excel or any kind of I would say such tools like Numbers or something, you can use this, and that is what we're going to do. I have given you two big project. One is the Gmail. I'm going to give you more I would say written way in the email as well. One more I have given you is the FRS, flight reservation, that is a traveling project. Spend more hours on the FRS, that is having lots of I would say real functionality. Gmail you will find almost less or no bugs, because Gmail is something which millions of users are using every day, and that is why it is not having, I would say, the bugs or the errors. But flight reservation, this FRS, that is having bugs, that is having defects. So this will help you finding out the defects and how you're going to report it, and it will give you excellent kind of learning and the live experience, how you are testing the application and how you are reporting the bugs. Any questions, guys, in the assignment, what you have to complete? Any questions, Priyanka? Defect proof, yes. So what you're going to do is like this is a defect in this, I would say, system. This is a defect. I'm trying to book a one-way flight, and I clicked on OK. Fine. Let me here. Oh, I was not signed in. 1 second. This is one. I'm going to go with the one way, and so if it's a one-way flight, it should not, I would say, show me the prices and all these for the returning flight as well. So what I'm going to do is, for example, I'm going to use, let's say this is a tool what I use here at this Mac one. So I'm going to take a snapshot. So this is a snapshot I am having. Fine. I will save this as a snapshot. I will upload it to the Google Drive, or I'll upload it to the system. I mean, upload it to the internet if I'm using in the company. And company has provided me a repository where I can put on the stuff, and I'm uploading that image there. And then I'm giving a URL, a drive link, like this is the defect proof and the reports to this particular. So like expected result, and this is the actual result part I'm able to see. So these are the more proofs, like this is we done, and these are the expect and the actual result. So proof are exactly the proof, but that is more supporting documents which are giving exactly the part, like this is what we tested, and these are the real result we were looking, and that is what we able to found as a defect. So that is, you can also go with any kind of, I would say, free website and go with that. You always have a, if it's in a Windows environment, you always have a print screen. There is one more, if you're using Windows 7, there is a tool called snipping tool. You find out at your Windows 7 if you're using, or 8 or 10 if you're using as well. There's a tool called as snipping tool. There is a tool from the Microsoft itself. So the snipping tool is very handy. You can keep any kind of image and crop it. Let me share my second screen, the surface. I have the Windows 10 there. I can show you what is that. Give me a moment, please. So you go to, I hope screen is visible. Go to Windows, go with this snipping tool, click on this. So this is like you can create a new selection. Like this is I am using as a selection, and this is image is captured here. You can save it. You can actually, this is more like a different one. So this is saving option. If you want to highlight something, like this is something what I highlighted like this. So this is the kind of one more feature you are having here, and simply save it with this, save it in the format of PNG or something. So this is something you can change. You can save, this is a PNG format, save it, and you have the image, and simply attach that to drive or the link of local link you're using. So this is another tool we are having by which you can support, and that is more towards the phase where you can attach the images, go with that, and more supporting your actually the work you're supporting your as actually the part like these are the actual outcomes and so on. So for me these are not more, very important. I already know these are the defects. I'm very handy to this tool and all. So that is more towards giving not exactly the proof but more as a uh, showing like at my machine or the tester's machine, this is how the system is responding. So if you can attach this, that's great. Even if you not, that is perfectly okay. Keep it with you. But sometimes and many times we provide these snapshots or something. You go with the tools like Jira or something. You have the facility. You can use that. I will show you and in the Jira as well. Not right now, or I can show you right away. This is how we. So you see, this is an image, what I supported image, what I worked on this. So I checked this and I attached an image. So that's a kind of more towards this is what we can do. So supporting with image and all, which gives better clarity to the other team members. You see, there's an status. Status is like to-do status, in progress status, done status. So this is the issue. If you see here, the priority is medium, high, low, lowest. So these are the highest. These are the priorities of my this. The type, it is a task or it is a kind of bug. It's a kind of epic. So these are the different kind of stuff. More we will talk about towards when we'll be working on the part of this Jira as a more project defect management part. Once I want that manually do you do this, then I'll take you to this Jira part, and then I'll show you the same defects what you were reporting at this Excel level, the manually how you can do with the help of tool as well. So that is going to be more interesting. Like these are the descriptions you are having, then attachment we are having, then these are the various information we are having, and the comments and the discussion is going on the same issue. This is an task, not an issue. So that is more I told you as project Jira is used as for the project as well as defect management. So that is we are doing here. Anyway, so I hope you got the idea regarding like how you going to find out. Yeah, initially we understood the Gmail what you worked yesterday. I given you possible 7 scenarios of different scenarios of Gmail. I showed to you 2 more examples, 2 more test cases, 2 more functionalities or units you need to test. One is the registration, not registration. Second was this logout. Another one was in the Gmail itself that I given you as the sign up or the registration functionality at the Gmail. Then we talked about another live project that was the FRS, flight reservation. That's a traveling project. I showed you the domain of the traveling project, and I showed you the functionality, the various features it is working. And I showed you 3 different, I would say modules, 4 different modules of it. One is like login, second is like registration, third is like booking a flight, fourth is like logout. So these are the various features I showed to you, and you have the functionality, you have the understanding how to create the test cases, how to match the actual and I would say the expected result. And now you have the better understanding towards the defect. What is a defect, what is a bug, what is an issue, what is an error, so that you have the understanding. All are the same, I would say they're the same name. And then you have the understanding of the defect report. You have the understanding how the defects are reported, how the defects are actually used, how it is reported, what tester is working, what developers is working, how status is going on, what are the fields involved in this defect. And I have also showed like how you're going to report the defects, so you have complete understanding regarding the defect reporting as well as defect managing. So that is what I have given you one more assignment, that is find out 10 defects in the FRS. These are the defects. I would request not to go right now here. try, use your brain. It may happen like you may find better bugs than the bugs which are reported here, which we have gathered here. So and if you're able to find out better bugs here, we will try to include your, I would say, document as a reference, like these are the bugs which are I would say detected by one of the candidate. You see in the test case document, we have provided one of the document of the same candidate of our own trainer of 2014 itself, almost 3-4 years back. Guys were working, and that is what we found out was one of the good document. So that is what we can we can work. So work on these 3-4 different assignments I have given to you. You have complete week, you have complete stuff. I will also try to record one video. You already having the video of the Gmail login logout test case. I also try to record one specific video in my voice, which is more towards testing the FRS, flight reservation, this traveling project. And then I will share it with you, maybe not probably tomorrow, but maybe in a couple of days itself. So that will give you also some help at the same time for testing, what fields I'm including, how I'm testing, and so on. So that's it from my side. Anything else? Any questions do you have? Okay, sounds pretty good. Gazelle, please work on the issues what I am sharing with you, and I'm expecting you guys would be submitting. Appreciation to the Priyanka, like you submitted the issue yesterday. Gazelle will be also working, and the movement system will be working. So wish you good luck, guys. Work on this. You have complete a good amount of time. Do not wait. Do not wait for the next class, and then before one day you are trying to go complete that stuff. Spend some time, go and do the task one by one quickly. You try to resolve progress daily, and if you find any issue or something, you try to drop an email at the QA training, and the support guys will be accessing, they'll be forwarding that request to me, directed it towards to me, like Rahul, this and this, and then I'll try to see and reply based on the same. Okay, guys, thank you so much for attending. And lots of homework to you guys. So please work on it. Don't come under pressure. But it's good if you're having lots of work. You have lots of stuff to complete, lots of things to experiment and learn. So I wish you good luck for that. And thank you so much for attending. Have a good night. And see you in the next class. Bye-bye.